to this week and here's a rundown of this past week's highlights. The controversial and illegal deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia continues to unfold this week, and we'll update you on all the latest there. Trump 2.0 seems to be ignoring the directions of judges, including the Supreme Court. So we'll get into that and let you know why this is such a huge problem. We've also got the latest on tariffs and trade agreement negotiations, but I've got some questions about that, and we're going to get into that as we discuss a little bit this afternoon. And in addition, there's news on the Target/DEI front, some viral moments that we'll check out, time permitting, and of course, we'll be having our conversations with you, our co-hosts, the virtual audience, and that's all we'll be doing that and much more on this week in Black America. I got my brother with me, Brother Deshaun. How are you, my brother?
I'm great, brother. I'm great. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, Curtis. If this is your first time rocking with us, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the community. If you are a regular, you already know what it is here. We are live every Friday, 12 Eastern time on the Hello Black America YouTube channel, as well as the Brother Deshaun YouTube channel. And we are also live on the Hello Black America and Brother Deshaun Facebook channel and Instagram. So this is your show just as much as it is ours. So if you got some time to spend with us, go ahead and hit that like button. Lets the algorithm know that the conversation here matters. And if you want to stay tapped in, real news, real people, and how it affects Black America, definitely hit that subscribe button. We see you, we appreciate you, and we always enjoy engaging with you. So, Curtis, let's get right down to it. It's been a very busy week, so why don't you kick us off? Very busy week.
That's
all of these weeks are busy, right?
Absolutely. Busy week. We want to break down first, go into this Abrego Garcia controversy. Of course, there's been some news on that front. I know you've been following it. And just for context and background, of course, Abrego Garcia, I want to call him Diego. Abrego Garcia was amongst the, I think, 200 or so immigrants who were here, undocumented immigrants here, who were shipped out. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, just blatantly shipped to another country, not to their country necessarily, but to El Salvador, which may or may not be their country of origin, but they just got shipped out. Of course, a judge said, no, you can't do that. Turn the planes around. The administration pretended they didn't see that order or acted as if they couldn't do anything. So they did go. And of course, in fact, they realized that at least one of these people was there and it was a mistake. Now the administration's kind of backing off and saying that, they admitted that it was a mistake initially, but now they're fighting it tooth and nail. They're like, nah, yo, you staying down there. They're not even making any action. Although the U.S. Supreme Court, Trump's Supreme Court, said 9-0. And I mean, that speaks volumes in itself. When have you seen this Supreme Court do 9-0 on anything? They wouldn't vote 9-0 that the sky was blue. That's how divided this court is. And yet on this particular thing, they voted 9-0. And now we have the 47th president basically ignoring it, setting up what we've discussed before, potentially this whole constitutional crisis that people talk about in the media. We are right up against it. And the good thing, though, is that we know he's alive now. There was some question. There's some speculation, some whispers, because he hadn't been seen. No one knew where he actually was. And of course, the senator from the state of Maryland went to go actually see him and initially was rebuffed. And that even stoked more speculation. But now we know that he was able to actually get to see Mr. Garcia. What are your, I know there's a lot I threw at you in a few minutes, but there's a lot of context there because that's a very kind of nuanced and layered situation that we see going on. What are your thoughts on that? First of all, that we see that Mr. Abrego Garcia is actually alive, and thank God for that.
Well, for those of you who may not be aware, we've been keeping you on top of the story concerning Abrego Garcia, who was deported illegally from this country, no grounds, and put in an El Salvadorian prison, which is where he's from. And we told you last week that he fled as a young man because gangs in his country were threatening his mother. And so he came here, and he is he's been a legal citizen. He's followed the path of what's the term of the type of citizen he is, Curtis?
He was a protected permanent resident, I believe it was, but there was a specific legal conclusion reached, I think, in 2019 that prohibited him from being deported to El Salvador because of the gang affiliations and gang threats that his family had faced while they were there. So he was here legally in a protected permanent resident status.
Absolutely. So good to see you, Get Black with me. Welcome. That's one of our favorite co-hosts.
Absolutely.
So we didn't know if he got out there. First of all, when the Supreme Court ruled that we had no grounds to put him out there, and this is very important because what we talk about here is not just what's happening in the world. We talk about the things that are affecting us. Now, if you think that the train, when you see the trains coming, don't think because it hasn't gotten to your stop yet that it's not coming to you. So that's what we're here to let you know. If you see that we have deported a legal citizen and put him didn't just send him to his country, he's in a El Salvadorian prison, no due process, no opportunity to actually go through the legal process according to the Constitution to prove I should not be here. Now we say, is he alive? Because many of the people who were talking about him were wondering and praying that this man was alive because we hadn't seen him, hadn't heard from him. And then we get a senator. What was the senator's name?
Van Hollen, Senator Van Hollen from Maryland, the senior senator from Maryland.
Okay, senior senator.
That's me. You're talking. All right.
It's early still. But no, he 3 days ago, he says he's going to El Salvador because he needs to see proof of life. And he gets to El Salvador and he demands to see this man, and they flat out tell him no.
Yeah.
And when he posted that, by the way, we're putting all of these source articles in a document you guys can click on if you want to see every story we're talking about, and you can see the sources. They couldn't produce him, or they wouldn't produce him.
Right.
So this became, when he posted that, everyone got worried that this could have been the first death on President Trump's hands publicly. And we were praying that it wasn't. And thank God, yesterday, Curtis, you shared the article that he is alive, and but we need to see, are they going to send him back? And in regards to the Supreme Court ruling, very important, the Supreme Court, as you said, this is a divided Supreme Court historically. It's no secret. These people vote a lot of different ways. So to have them agree unanimously 9-0 that there is no grounds for that man to be there, we made a mistake, he needs to be back here. And then to have President Trump say, not only did he say, I'm not going to get him, for those of you who saw the meeting with the El Salvador, you might have even saw the meeting between President Trump and the El Salvadorian president, who said, he sat there and he said, I'm not going to allow a terrorist to come back into the United States. That wasn't Trump. That was the El Salvadorian president, which means those checks he's getting are so good, This man is willing to do whatever it takes. And when the senator came out there, he basically said to him, hey, we're not showing you the guy. Go get a letter from the USA if you want to see him. And so President Trump has not adhered to the Supreme Court ruling. He said it's on El Salvador. Whatever they want to do, they'll do. And it looked really, really bad. I'm going to be honest with y'all. It looked really, really bad up until 24 hours ago. But thank God the man is alive. And I'm much more curious as to what the co-host, which is our virtual studio audience, thinks about having a president who receives a majority rule from the federal court, the highest court in this land, the third branch of the checks and balances in this country, and not following it. What do you guys think about that? Let us know in the chat. Go ahead, Curtis.
Now I see Get Black with Me had a comment there that they think that the government's hand has been forced, and potentially that could be the case, but we've not seen any desire on the part of this administration to really to actually understand what and agree with what the court has said. I'm sorry if I'm a little disheveled this morning, apparently, but they've shown no interest in obeying the courts. And in fact, it looks like they're actually pushing actively against what the courts have said. So what's going to happen? You know, now we know he's alive. That's good. But now what's going to happen? Now, not just him. Now, the court ruling that was made was that all of those people that were sent there needed to come back into the U.S. Now, the fight is being centered on Kamar Albrego Garcia, but all of those people that were sent have to be brought back according to that judge's ruling. And we're not seeing any inclination on the part of this administration that they're going to support that or follow through with it at all. And that's when the fun begins, right? Now we what's going to happen next?
She said that he's going to be held in contempt.
Okay, but what does that mean?
What does that mean? Right.
If nobody puts any teeth into it, so keep in mind, this president, our current president, has already been twice impeached, right? He's yet still in office. So now what makes us think that if a judge says, yeah, you're in contempt, what does that mean? Even if the judge says somebody has to go to jail, who's going to check him? The judge has no army, no marshals. Well, I guess they could send marshals, but aren't the marshals under the command of the executive? I'm a little confused on how that's going to work. But there's no mechanism to say, hey, Trump, you're doing the wrong thing. You can't do this. Our favorite saying, I still think we should do t-shirts. Who gonna check me, boo? Who gonna check him? And nobody has shown a willingness to do that. Now, there are some people that are speaking out, a few senators who are saying a few things that, you know, trying to sound the alarm, but nobody is really taking any tangible action to either impeach this guy, something with some teeth in it that can actually force his hand and change his behavior. And I'm not seeing that.
Well, there's a large part of the population that, I mean, this country's divided. We just don't know how badly it's divided. We do see Republicans in various states that are speaking to their local state congressperson, and they're speaking up. They don't like the immigration thing, because I don't think it's a matter of they're against him totally. I think some of his supporters are starting to stand up to certain things. And I've seen two cases this week where Republicans, congresspeople, were being berated by people, as they should, saying we need to get this guy back. This is not the land where this should legally be happening. We should not be putting our stamp of approval. I don't even mind the tariffs, because they see the tariffs as a long-term reset of the financial systems that were broken in this country. But when it comes to this issue, there are certainly some people who voted for him who are like, no, this is unconstitutional. This is not what the United States is, sending people to another country in a concentration camp, this detention camp, like a third world country prison, right, with no due process. So we're just going to see how he responds to the heat from the Supreme Court, and we're going to see how he responds to the heat from his voter base, potentially not liking some of these issues. But up until this point, we have not seen any correction or any repentance. Hey, that was a bad decision. Let's switch that. Let's fix that. It just seems like we're going to put our foot harder on the gas. And if we think one day that President Trump's going to wake up and change totally, I mean, we'll see. But I think that anyway. But
did you see there was you're right, the Republican senators, even in the deep red states, the MAGA territory, they're starting to get the heat too. I saw something on that the other day, Chuck Grassley, and these are, you know, unmelanated people, older folks asking, hey, what's going on in El Salvador? So that's a question we've all got to ask ourselves. And if you're thinking, again, we like to bring this around to why it affects Black America. You heard the president say, and this is kind of related, you heard the president say when he was in the room with the Salvadorian president, homegrown is next, right? We heard him talk about homegrowns are next. So if he can do this to somebody who has a legal status in America, what is to stop him from doing it to an American citizen or to someone that disagrees with him? He's certainly shown an appetite to go after those who disagree with him, right? We're seeing it all over the place. And yet people have not seen the handwriting on the wall yet. And I don't get that. I don't get that.
Well, in case some of you who didn't see that after that meeting with the El Salvadorian president, what President Trump said to him was he is going to need to build at least 5 more of these facilities. So after the El Salvadorian president came and visited a couple days ago, I believe they had that was this was posted April 15th. So he was here earlier in the week, maybe Monday or Tuesday, and they had a meeting, and that's when he said he would not be really, he was basically locked arms with President Trump, and in a hot mic moment, he said to him, you're going to need to build at least 5 more of those prisons, because we're going to start to send some of the homegrown criminals there. So this went from being an idea in President Trump's head to of sending the most violent criminals, repeat offenders. If you go back to originally where this whole paying other countries to house our prisoners came from, it came from an initial idea of the violent criminals, the repeat offenders. Why don't we ship them and pay another country to hold them? To the first people we've seen in this is an American citizen, and we hear him saying we're going to need more of these people to get our homegrown people there. So again, like I said, just because the train has not arrived to our stop in Black America, don't think it's not on its way to us, because it started out, it started out, and this ain't a ride that we want to be on.
Definitely not.
It started out as the LGBTQ, the transgender. They always will attack the people first who they think they could get the most social support. It started out no women in men's sports, no men in women's sports. Oh, we agree. And so you start with the most let's go after the people we think we can get the most public support on, and let's just expand little by little. So that's what just pay attention and understand that what is happening to Abrego Garcia, it should be, when Curtis, we asked the question, why should we care? It should be something that we care about, because depending on how this is handled, we are seeing a preview of what is coming for more groups of people over the next 3, 6, 9 months.
You think about it in these terms. Ask yourself some questions about this, because when we're talking about, first of all, I have a question about Congress controls the funding. How did we haven't passed the budget yet? How are we getting the money to pay for sending these people to El Salvador? Where's the money coming from? If it was never allocated through Congress, and Congress controls the funding, I just have a question of where the money came from and how are they paying for it. Secondly, if you're paying for something, if the president of the United States is paying the president of El Salvador to house these people, would it not be natural if he just said, listen, bring the people back because we've got to, because of the courts? I mean, if he stood up and said anything, as far as if Trump said anything indicating that he wanted those people back, you got to believe the Salvadorian president is going to be like, okay, because he's paying the bill. He's the customer. I'm confused by so many things, and I'm also confused why Americans aren't more in an uproar about this. Because as you pointed out, the train is coming for you. If you don't believe that black folks is going to be in some sort of El Salvadorian prison, when he's talking about homegrown, he's talking about people that are in our prison systems in America. And if you look at the makeup of our prison systems in America, there's a lot of people that look like you and I in there. And unfortunately, it may be that some of them people may end up in a foreign country. More foreign than this one.
Before we move to the next topic, and let's cue it up, because we want to talk about this meeting with Al Sharpton. Get Black Women said everything Trump is doing is unraveling in real time. That remains to be seen, in my opinion, because I think you're looking at him as a regular president, and you're looking at him like this guy is going to be gone. I'm looking at him as he is taking over America, and he is and he's on a high speed train that not only is no one trying to stop what he's doing, but they're getting out of his way. So if you think that somehow there's just going to be a different flow, again, I love to see it, but for the last, we are not even 90 days in, and we've never seen someone do the things he's doing unchecked. So I just don't see. Are Democrats going to wake up one day and try to oppose him, or is the Supreme Court is the Congress, is the Senate? Who's going, like Curtis said, who's going to check him? And it doesn't seem like anyone's going to check him. If they didn't check him on wanting to take Gaza, wanting to take Canada, wanting to take Greenland, wanting to take the Panama Canal, renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, no one is checked. They didn't check him on rolling back DEI. They didn't check him on any of the things he's been doing for the last 2 months. We're going to just wake up and check him? I don't see it. So.
Well, we've always talked about him just stoking chaos, and we're seeing that for sure. Somebody's going to have to stand up. Get Black with me is right. He is just kind of making a mess right now because these executive orders are not laws yet. So we got to keep that in mind and not get too distracted by the chaos.
Okay. Everything he's doing seems like as soon as he says do it, it happens.
Absolutely.
It doesn't look like there's an approval process where it needs to be a law. I said it.
He ain't asking nobody. He ain't asking for permission.
Right.
And he ain't asking for forgiveness either. But Anyway, let's get on. You
Yeah.
mentioned a little about a DEI. So that would be a kind of a natural progression into our man, Brother Al Sharpton, is in the news because he got a call apparently recently to from Target. Target is starting to feel the pinch of black folks not going into Target stores, not shopping for Target. And it's really sad because Target has been traditionally one of those brands, those retail brands that actually really have supported the black community. But, you know, they saw the backlash when they announced that they were going to roll back their DEI initiatives in acquiescence to the Trump administration. So now here we are 90 days later, and black folks are just not messing with Target at all. So
Who's
you go
still
into
shopping at Target?
Listen, you go by and it is lily white. It's not, I'm not seeing the brothers going to Target. And I used to spend a fair amount of time there, but we're seeing now they're starting to feel the economic pinch. The question becomes, what is Al Sharpton going to do? You know, I mean, you know, I don't want to be the person that jumps on another brother, but I'm not sure how Al Sharpton is still getting the calls for these types of things, these types of meetings. Who in corporate America thinks that Al Sharpton represents a wide swath of what Black American thought is? You know, and listen, I respect the brothers. He's been out there. He's been in the forefront. I don't know that he's necessarily seeking the limelight, but the limelight always seems to find him. And, you know, I'm not knocking his hustle, but what has he done? Wasn't it Janet? What have you done for me lately? And so what's the point of calling Al and finding and he would have been much better served to be. I think Target would have much better been served if they'd have been like, we're going to have a town hall with black folks because we want to hear what y'all have to say. And it's a kind of a misstep when you call Al Sharpton as kind of the representative of Black America, and I don't know who's going to tell him. I don't know how much Black America is actually going to be following Al. So that might not be the person that you the go-to person. But anyway, what are your thoughts on?
well, we got some of our welcome to DC Old Fly. Good to see you, sis, down at
Yes.
ATL checking in.
Yes, indeed.
So to our co-hosts, what do you guys think about Target meeting with Al Sharpton? It's somebody sat down and they're struggling because they're looking at those numbers. We can't wait to see the first quarter earnings for Target. And trust me, when as soon as I see them, I Google them every week. Has the first quarter earnings come out? No, not yet. Yeah, man, listen. But somebody in the board meeting said, we got to do something. And someone, this shows how out of touch some of these corporations are, said, I got it. Call Al Sharpton. And watch this. They're so out of touch. Nobody in the room said, who? Sharpton, are you? What? No, somebody, they said that's a good idea. So they meet with Al Sharpton, and his words after the meeting. Here's why he, and like you said, Curtis, he might not even know he doesn't have the influence with Black America he has, but he insults our intelligence by telling us, you would expect if there was a meeting that has been this thick, this fiery, we have boycotted economically a company at scale because they have shown us that they don't necessarily need or want our dollars. You have that meeting. The first thing you're supposed to have outside is a camera crew.
Yep.
You're supposed to have people outside ready to deliver. Hey, let me tell y'all exactly what it said. First of all, they offered a formal apology. They're going to say it publicly. In fact, I brought the CEO down. I brought the whole board down. They want to apologize to Black America. He gets out, and these were his words. The meeting was, what's the two words? Candid and constructive.
Absolutely.
That's what he reports to us. The
Those
meeting
are,
was. Go ahead, Curtis.
Those are two Stephen A. words.
He's a reverend. I said Al Sharpton's a good talker, but for you to not come and give us anything definitive, it makes me think you just got a check, and that's why you are happy. It went good for you because they said, listen, we're going to pay you. You're going to be on our damage control budget. So we think we could give you probably $50,000 every 3 months because we need to do damage control, and there's no one better. So you come out and say, yeah, the meeting went, it was good. But from Black America's standpoint, you're not. I'm not going to be back in Target because Al Sharpton convinced me to be back in Target.
How tone deaf is Target when it wasn't even Sharpton that actually called for the boycott of Target, or the it's Pastor Jamal Bryant down in Atlanta there, I think, was actually the person that called for a 40-day fast on Target. And they didn't even invite him to the meeting. Although I did hear that Sharpton said he was going to be meeting with Jamal Bryant. But I mean, that kind of begs the question: why Sharpton as opposed to Jamal Bryant? So anyway, it just kind of highlights a tone deafness of corporate America, or maybe it's just a stuck in time thing where, 30 years ago, Al Sharpton might have been the call to make, but you've got to know that times have changed and we are not a monolith. So you have to figure out a way that's going to reach the broadest swath of Black America if you want to rekindle that support. And apparently they're using some tactics that are kind of outdated. So any other thoughts on that? I mean, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on talking about Al and DEI, but Al and anything really.
Get Black With Me said something very, he's a symbol for Black protest. And unfortunately, if you guys know me, you know I'm very big on the fact that we are so short on Black leaders that and I mean Black leaders that if somebody in the audience, whether you're a first-time watcher, welcome, or whether you're one of our regular viewers and you're a co-host here, if you could tell me 5 Black leaders that tomorrow you would stand up with and march with, and when you march, you're willing to go to jail, you're willing to be sprayed, you're willing to be fire hosed, you're willing to die. I mean, besides, Captain Ibrahim Traore, he wasn't on that map a year ago, we are so short on leaders. So it's not like we have a big gamut of people to choose from that are making, and I don't mean people who don't get me started because it sounds extra critical, but that's just the way that I feel. I look and I say, if you've been on the world stage as a Black leader, an activist, and you've been there for 3-4 years and you're viral, you have the influence, and you're not using it to move us forward, look, I'm not marching again. And I hear you, but you know why? Because you're not inspired. There's no one who inspires you to march.
True. That is a good point.
That's the thing. There's no one who you're looking and you are inspired to march with. That's the sad reality. All right, let's go. We will read. What we're doing now is any comment that we see that we want to revisit, because we don't want to spend. We got a lot of things we want to move through. We're going to revisit this in a discussion. So we'll save every single comment that we need to go deeper with, and then when we get to the 1 o'clock hour, we'll go deeper on some of these things, just so we could keep the pacing going. So. What's next?
Let's hit quick. You brought something up. You said something that brought it up, and it was kind of a big culture moment. Any thoughts on the ladies that went into space there for 11 minutes? Apparently, there's been some backlash. Gayle King, Katy Perry, Bezos's fiance, and a couple other people. Not many scientists, although 2 have kind of a STEM background. I think this was being seen as a bit of a publicity stunt, and I've heard people saying things like, with all the things going on with regards to women and the erosion of women's rights, sending these women into space without some sort of commentary about what's going on around us with regard to women seemed, this is my word, I guess, irresponsible or self-serving. And your thoughts on, or audience thoughts on Gayle King going to outer space? Was a good thing, bad thing? I personally not sure I cared, but
Well,
Gayle says it's disrespectful for people to for the backlash she's received.
Well, this is an article for those of you who may not be aware. Gayle King and a bunch of celebrities, including Katy Perry and others, all women went into space with Jeff Bezos' company. And I'll just read a little bit of this article for you guys. We have it linked in we have the document in the YouTube description for those of you who want to see all of this. It says, she's defending her journey to space. In an interview with Extra, King addressed criticism over her participation in Monday's, which is April 14th, historic all-female space mission sponsored by Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin. I wish people would do more due diligence. And then my question is, have y'all been to space? How out of touch? Like, how are you asking somebody have they been to space like it's daggone Jamaica? What are we? Hey, have it? Y'all ain't been to space? You're like, no, we haven't. So she says, go to space or go to Blue Origin and see what they do, then come back and say this is a terrible thing. King took the 11-minute journey to space with the other notable names. However, critics slammed references citing the woman as astronauts and said that the group was simply contributing to marketing for Blue Origin's expensive flights to space. Blue Origin also faced backlash for contributing to pollution on Earth. So again, what we do here, all we care about is how these things affect Black America and what we think about these things. I do see this as a waste of resources. I cannot believe that we are entertaining colonizing space when we have people on our streets who don't have meals tonight. We have people who don't have blankets, don't have pants, don't have shirts, don't have a house, doors, don't have anywhere to live. And we are spending millions upon millions of dollars in researching space from Elon's standpoint, from Jeff Bezos' standpoint. But I get that this is their money. So you can't really tell people what to do with their money, but it just does show how the celebrities that we have anointed that wouldn't even be celebrities if we didn't give them the platform,
right,
continue to be totally out of touch with reality. You've been hanging around people that are not from your city, not from where you came up from. You probably don't even talk to many of the people you came up with, because if you did, you would see that this is something that I don't need to be spending money with. But again, I'm not going to expect a celebrity to go and do something for our people that hundreds of celebrities before them have not done. And we continue to give these people platforms. We continue to follow them. We continue to share their stuff. We continue to give them everything they need to make more money without holding them accountable. We're talking about boycotting Target. We need to boycott some of these celebrities that are not doing anything for us.
Listen, you said the word platform, and that's the key, is that these folks have these tremendous platforms. And it's not that everybody who has who's a celebrity is necessarily a spokesperson for Black America necessarily, but you need to call people to responsibility for how they use their platforms, especially in a time like this when we have all this chaos around us. We have all these things happening that impact our freedoms. And if you're not using your platform to highlight those things, then what exactly are you doing? You know, what it seems self-serving. if you're not kind of reaching back to lift up the rest of the community and use your platform to support some sort of positive message. So yeah, I don't, again, that's not a thing that we necessarily need to be spending a lot of time on, but it does kind of highlight where we ought to be, how people ought to be using their platforms. I think that's the message there. Trying to get back on schedule here, my brother, working with me, work with me. I kind of flipping around a little bit, but there were some other stories, some viral moments that went through. I want to get your opinion on. I don't know if you could tee up did you see the video of the man in the wheelchair in Brooklyn? It should be near the top there, right under the Trump stuff. But there was a man in Brooklyn who apparently was walking his dogs. They were muzzled, and but I can't say walking his dogs since he's in a wheelchair. But he was out with his dogs. They were walking, and he was taking them. And apparently, a man who presented as an Orthodox Jew, Jewish person, apparently went over to him. They said he hit the man with a brick, a wooden block or something. And then you see him physically push the man out of his wheelchair. And then if you watch the video to the end, you see that he actually does end up getting arrested for assaulting the man in the wheelchair. Thoughts on, I don't know if that's something that we're spending a lot of time talking about, but what's going on with people that, you feel that that's okay, regardless of what, because your dog was disturbing the kids is apparently the reasoning. Did you see that story?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. And the gentleman said that they hit him with was it a big piece of wood?
Yes, wood block or something.
A big, so these are God's chosen people.
See, why'd you have to go there? See,
what are you doing? You're God's chosen people. You don't do this.
Okay.
These the Orthodox Jewish people, these guys have done a wonderful job at just really bringing God to the world and showing people what a people who have God can do if they just stick with God and they love others and they spread the message of God and oh, my fault. They haven't. My fault. No, in reality, look, we're not going to paint with a broad stroke. There's wonderful people who are Jewish, and there's people like this. And if you guys didn't see that this man in a wheelchair, like, you would think that Jewish people would identify with Black people more than anyone,
right?
Considering both of our plights,
right? You
would think that. But, we know, unfortunately, when I live in New Jersey, we live in New Jersey, and we know that many of the slumlords in New Jersey are Jewish. So it's, how do they really feel about us? Especially considering there's a little talk about who the chosen people are and whatever. Maybe they're feeling a little like, and I never will say who's not the chosen people, but the scripture is very clear about describing who some of the chosen people are in this world, but maybe they're feeling that there's an uprising. I have no idea, but I think this should be a hate crime. I think these people should be like, does anyone know? Have they been? Yeah, definitely. He needs to be sued. Get black with me, and just not even a question. But are they going to be held accountable? I don't care if you assaulted me. Cool, but I would love to see him in a lawsuit with these guys, because there's no way. If a picture of a Black man hitting a white Jewish man with a piece of wood while he's in a wheelchair,
right?
Where would that go?
Listen, they don't have bulldozers deep enough to to build a jail that they would put that brother in. I'm telling you now, the bulldozers don't go deep enough. They'd be burying him under the jail, as my father used to say. So, yeah.
So that's it. Just let that man get justice, and God willing, he gets his money. You know, he's alive, but God willing, he gets his money because he's due that money.
Yeah.
Yeah, take one of those. We don't have. Give me one of those apartment buildings. All right, just, give me. All right.
One thing that we wanted to talk about. I'd spoken to you about it last week. Actually, it was on our sheet last week, and we didn't get to it. But it's obviously still a big thing in the news, and it's about the young man in Georgia who is at the center. I think Carmelo Anthony, not that Carmelo, not the basketball,
not the basketball player,
but a high school student, 16-year-old, a Centennial High School student, who's kind of embroiled in a controversy now because he was attacked at a track meet, apparently, by two unmelanated young boys, and he protected himself and ended up taking the life, unfortunately, of one of his attackers. Now, he was arrested, and his bail was initially set at $1 million. I saw recently that they adjusted that bail down to $250,000, which kind of says that there might be something you don't see. Let's just put it where the goats can get it. You don't see black folks' bail being reduced unless there's some sort of problem with the case. From my observance, so you have to wonder what the prosecution has or what the defense has shown that they have, which means that there might be problems for the prosecution's case. I went online yesterday and just saw some of the vitriol, though, that the unmelanated people in America are taking towards this young man, but yet you can't help but see the comparisons to the Kyle Rittenhouse. You remember Kyle Rittenhouse, right? The guy from Wisconsin, the white man who went across during the Black Lives Matters protest and ended up shooting and taking the life of two people in a place where he didn't even live, and charged. And he said it was self-defense, and there was no problem with that. Plus, they had a big GoFundMe, and I think they collected like $2 million for him in his support, fees. Right? And now people have a problem with Carmelo Anthony getting GoFundMe or some sort of support, financial support, and it again just kind of draws a big highlight on the hypocrisy of America. We got two teenagers who do very similar types of activities, yet one is demonized and ridiculed, while the other is kind of lauded and praised as having done something great. And the only difference apparently seems to be the color of their skin. Anyway,
seems that way. I think if we look at the way the Kyle Rittenhouse case went, and we consider that there are similar circumstances where he's claiming self-defense, maybe, as you said, concerning the evidence, maybe there is some evidence falling apart. This was from yesterday. It says chaos unfolded during a press conference in Dallas as the spokesman for Carmelo Anthony's family took jabs at Austin Metcalf's, that's the victim, his father, who was escorted from the site of the event before it began. Anthony's accused of fatally stabbing Austin, he's a 17-year-old, on April 2nd. Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father, Jeff Metcalf, which is his father, attempted to attend the news conference.
Yes.
And so when we look and see that this right here talks about the reduction in the bail, it says Anthony is facing first-degree murder charges. He was released from the jail after his bond was reduced from $1 million to $250,000. The news conference addressed more than $450,000 in give, send, go funds, and that's just you're upset. You're upset that there's a good amount of people who believe Carmelo Anthony acted in self-defense, just like there's a good amount of people who believed that Kyle Rittenhouse did. So again, if it goes this way and he ends up getting a reduced charge, or he, God willing, does end up being found, liable, but only from self-defense, which I don't know if that would that absorb him from the crime totally? Would that if it,
yeah, I mean, if he acted in self-defense, then it's not a murder. It's
is that the way it works?
I'm no lawyer, but I believe that if he gets acquitted, because it would be because of self-defense. So
Get Back With Me said something interesting. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing reminded us that America is an anagram. Forgive my ignorance. That word, I am race. Everything is about race for these people. But but isn't that the way they try to spin it with us? It's like the ultimate gaslighting, because you created the social construct known as black, white, race, other than the human race, and then we're always accused of y'all make it about race. Y'all were why Black Lives Matter? Why doesn't all lives matter? So it seems to be the ultimate gaslight is y'all do it, you created it, you used it for your benefit, but now when we try to, at least make decisions based on the reality in this country, which is that it is about race, not because we made it about race, but because the people who set it up did, we get accused of making everything about race. You just can't make this stuff up. Like you said, exactly. They are gaslighters. And Kenyatta Murphy, good to see you. One of our regular co-hosts checking in. Did you see Austin Metcalf's father had the nerve to show up to Carmelo Anthony's press conference?
Yes.
I didn't see that until just now.
That's the point. That's weird, isn't it? I mean, why? What
were you gonna do?
Right. So
coming to raise hell.
I don't know what's going on with these folks, but that's a sad story. We'll have to continue to follow it and see what happens. But I only bring it up to again highlight the hypocrisy, and I want to keep shining a spotlight on America's hypocrisy as often as I can, because if we've seen it, we don't even have to say if. We have seen it happen where the roles were reversed, and the American public has a very, very different reaction to the young person when he lacks melanin. I'll just put it that way. So anyway,
now did you see? We have a video to play. Who saw this? This is a GOP Senator Merkowitz. I probably butchered her name, but y'all know what it is.
Murkowski.
What I say?
Don't even ask, brother. It wasn't that though. Senator Murkowski.
so check out what Senator Merkowitz said. Look, they're scared. She said they're scared. We've talked about this on This Week in Black America the last couple of weeks, because I continue to say what is happening from everyone that they see, like there's just this doesn't seem to be a fight put up. And even from a fight from an opposition standpoint, you're a Democrat, I'm a Republican, independent, there's no like fighting. It seems we're just getting out of the way. But I'm curious, who saw this? Watch what this woman said. By the way, her people were asking her, "What's up? Why y'all ain't doing what? Y'all ain't doing nothing."
Mm-mm.
Did y'all hear that? We are all afraid.
We should be.
Yo, you're a United States senator.
I was getting ready to say, it's like, wait a second. If you're afraid, what should that mean? Because they actually have the power to stop all of this at any time, right?
Right.
Introduce impeachment papers, impeach the man, send him to the Senate, and get rid of him. We could be done with him in a week. But nobody has the intestinal fortitude to sort of stand up to this man.
Oh, wait, hold on. DCO Fly said she couldn't hear. Can you guys hear this YouTube video that we're playing?
I couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear
wait, hold on 1 second. Why are we not getting audio here? Hold on. How about this? Let me just take my headphones out. Hold on. Is it coming through?
I can hear it now.
Okay, how about now? Can everybody hear? Steven said no before, but can you guys hear? Let us know. Can you hear this? This is Republican Senator Murkowitz. No, Murkowski.
Murkowski.
And can they just give us the clearance? I don't want to play the video and you guys can't hear it.
No, we're not. They're not hearing it. So that's okay. We'll move on.
No, I think that chat. Yes or no? Let us know. One, if you can hear.
I just got a report that they could not hear.
Okay. All right. I need y'all to type a little faster than that. Okay. All right. She said no. All right. I gotta check and see why it's not coming through, because normally we play videos and they come through pretty clear. But what she said was, we're all afraid. And you know, it's amazing to me that to hear the senators that we have elected to represent us, that they are now afraid of the president of the United States. And this is not a Democratic senator. This is a Republican GOP senator. What do you think about that, Curtis? And I know you had kind of started it, but I mean, if those that we elected to be the checks and balances, to be just as important, according to the U.S. Constitution, they're just as important as the president to running the country, and they're saying they're afraid. What do we really think about that? Curtis, what do you think? And then co-host, what do you guys think?
It shows that they lack backbone. You know, they lack intestinal fortitude, because courage. You know, we've seen in the past. You know, I'm old enough to remember a time when politicians would risk being arrested, and in some cases were arrested, trying to fight for the rights of their constituents. We've not seen a willingness for anybody to stick out. Well, I wouldn't say anybody, because we are starting to see the public being willing to protest and things like that, and that to me harkens back to the very foundations of America, right? When the American Revolution 250 years ago now, during that kind of time where those people were really fighting for their freedoms. Now we're fighting for a different kind of freedom, but to me it sort of it harkens back to those times when people were engaged, and we're going to need that, because if the people just kind of sit back and wait for the things to happen, they're going to wake up one day and be like, yeah, where are we? What happened? That's why we stay woke. Because there's things happening, and if you just wake up one day and you weren't already awoke, you're going to be wondering how you got where you are. So that's
interesting. And Get Black With Me said they remember the Hoover days. Now, Curtis, you're much more knowledgeable about, you know, politics here in America. get black with me. What happened in the Hoover days that she could be referring to? And maybe you want to elaborate on that. Get black with me for us. Like what happened?
Well, Hoover, and I'm not enough well versed in it, but Hoover was the chicken in every pot type time, wasn't he? When America was struggling during the Hoover years. I'm not sure what Get Black With Me was trying to get at there, but I don't remember the Hoover. Listen, I may be old, but I don't go back to Hoover time. So
she said
I'd have to look.
She said that he apparently blackmailed everyone.
We'll have to look into that. Or maybe that's something we can actually get back to when we have our co-host conversation. Because
let's see if we can find something. Let's see if we can find something on that.
Absolutely.
She said the head of FBI.
Oh, J. Edgar. I'm
J.
sorry.
Edgar Hoover, not Herbert Hoover. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of Herbert Hoover too.
Me too. I was thinking Herbert Hoover. Yeah. Okay. Oh, J. Edgar, we know about the COINTELPRO and all that sort of stuff. Yes, indeed. And you are absolutely right. We may find ourselves in a similar type of time where, who's it, Kash Patel, the head of the FBI. I haven't heard much from him since he got confirmed, but you should probably know he's probably got some things going on over there that they just don't want us to know about.
And Stephen Clark, welcome, new co-host in the building. And he said something very interesting. The Hoover tariffs
caused the Great Depression.
Caused the Great Depression. Now,
I think that was actually McKinley.
Yeah.
I think that was
McKinley. What you're referring to is those Smoot-Hawley tariffs. The Smoot-Hawley tariffs of 1930 that they said. They said apparently right before the Great Depression, these tariffs were launched, and they intensified the effects so fast that it drove the country into a depression. And Republicans they've been saying it a lot. I believe they lost the control of the House for like 5 decades or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, co-host. Or if you know, Curtis, they lost, like, people didn't believe in the Republicans for so long after that. So they said, not only is it bad for the economy, it's bad for politics. So I'm not sure if, because now I'm getting confused with the Hoovers. But I do know for a fact that history has shown us that tariffs, especially in the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, was nowhere near as intense as these tariffs that we're talking about now, which are basically, there's really no rhyme or reason. We don't really know a format. We're just basically waking up one day and there could be a tariff tomorrow. And now, for those of you who don't know, the tariff on China is now the only country that we have active tariffs on under President Trump's plan, and it is now 245% at last check. As of today, Friday, April 18th, the tariffs on China are 245%. And I do not know why we keep poking this bear that is a huge part of how we live. Go ahead.
I got questions, bro.
Yeah.
Because I need you to help maybe talk me through this, and our co-hosts as well. Wasn't this whole tariff thing about bringing manufacturing back to America? I mean, that was the whole point, right? Is that this was going to, we're not charging tariffs on American-made stuff, so all you got to do is bring your manufacturing back to America. So I'm a little confused then as to what are the deals about? What kind of deals are we? I mean, the deal should be, if the deal doesn't include U.S. manufacturers agreeing to bring manufacturing back into America, I'm confused as to what the end goal was when this administration started applying these tariffs all willy-nilly. I mean, am I wrong? Wasn't that the stated reason for enacting tariffs was to bring manufacturing back to America, right?
That's how they sold it to us. That's how we were. That's how they sold the short-term pain we were going to deal with, because the short-term pain, it would be when we consider, guys, for us to build manufacturing facilities here in America, you need those corporations to come here. First of all, be willing to come. Then they got to find the land, go through the approvals, submit plans, develop plans first, submit the plans, go through boards, county, state, city, whatever, and build it. So we're talking about years. And now it's a good thing when it comes back. But the thing is, people labor isn't coming back, because you can't replace cheap labor with people labor.
Right.
So AI labor is coming back. So that's what you're going to see here, the AI infrastructure, because quite honestly, you can't take jobs from China that they're willing to work at a low wage because of it, because of their, where they are in their cost of living, and then bring those jobs back here and think, oh, we can. No. So, but this takes years. They sold us on going through the short-term pain, because they said once it's done, we're going to have manufacturing jobs and we're going to be booming. So people were willing to say, all right, some people were, then let's do it. Which begs the reason, what are the deals we're making? Because if you notice, President Trump would say, well, if you don't want the tariff, call me. We're looking to make deals. Everyone wants to make deals. But as
even with China,
Curtis, wasn't this the plan to get the manufacturing back? So what deals are we making that don't involve manufacturing coming back? I mean, that's just what I'm thinking. What do you guys think? Let's look at what the chat. Steven said, look at the back of your TV and your Jordans. Oh, 90%. Just so you guys are aware of how our lives are going to change. And this is a big deal. 245% tariff. Get Black with Me just laid it out. For those of you who may not know quite what a tariff is and how it works, this is if this item right here is $100,000, then when it comes through U.S. import, the tariff is 245%. That means it's $245,000 that I need to pay to get this product, which is $100,000, into the country. So I don't want your product here is basically what we're saying to China. And the bad part about that, as Stephen just laid out, look at your Jordans, look at your TVs, look at your little gadgets, look at your Kiha. You would be surprised to know how much is made in China. And just for you, so in case we don't know, 90% of goods that come into America have something that China contributes to those goods. 90%. These people can shut down our entire economy if they want to.
And they may want to, because China's been talking a little spicy. You've seen the viral videos of the Chinese leader, Victor Gao, I believe his name is, talking about, listen, we've been here. And y'all do realize that America only makes up about 15 to 16% of China's export. As opposed to what my brother just said, that like 90% of our stuff goes through China in some way or another, in some way. And so they like, listen, we've been here for 5,000 years, U.S. And most of the time, U.S. wasn't here. So we think we'll be good for another 5,000. So they're like standing on business, 10 toes down, like maybe the Chinese are saying, who's going to check me?
I'm going to try this one more time, Curtis, for those who didn't see Victor Gaio's video. Can you guys hear this? Did you hear anything, Curtis, when I just played that?
I'm not hearing him now. No.
Okay. I'm going to plug my speakers in the old way, but just so you guys know, this gentleman right here, he's an attorney in China, very intelligent guy. He's been going viral all week, as has many people in China. And what he said was, we don't care. China is not. The woman is asking him, she said, hey, well, don't we hold all the cards? Aren't you in a tough position? He said, listen, China was here for 5,000 years, and most of the time, no America existed during that 5,000 years. And we're going to be here after. And this doesn't this show us the grandiose opinion that America has about America? And unfortunately, I don't have a problem with you being confident.
Right.
But when you're confident without the facts, you going out here saying, listen, I'm going to go out, man, I'm going to get me a job on Wall Street. Bro, put a suit on. You got jeans and a t-shirt, you know. You're confident without facts. You know, no, I'm going to go just off me, my personality alone. Listen. No, you have a hyperinflated opinion of yourself that is removed from reality.
Sounds like the president.
16% of goods is all China ships to us. So out of the entire China GDP, 16% is, if they wanted to write off America, if they wanted to strike against us, literally all they had to do was say, listen, we're not going to export. And some of you may know, if you've seen, there are goods at the port. So we're, even if China chooses not to hasn't gotten to the point where they say we're not going to export goods, to the point where our shelves will be empty, just the fact we're seeing a little bit of it by them just holding goods, considering, like Black Whitney just said, people have to say, I got to pay a $200,000 tariff. I don't even know if I want these goods anymore. Right. So we are about to see in the next probably 30 days, stores that we're used to going in and seeing shelves full, those shelves going to start clearing out. And we're going to see how much influence China has. So again, my thing is, why are you poking this bear? Why are you poking this bear that has the power to cripple your economy? What do you think, Curtis?
Well, I'm confused. I'm just going to be clear with it. And how is, because even yesterday saw Trump talking about, yeah, we're going to make a deal with China. We're going to make a deal with China. But is this the way to start deal making? I mean, you're a negotiator. It doesn't seem like this is the best tactic for starting a negotiation. I could be wrong.
This is what you do with little brother. And who saw the video of Mace? Y'all see him put cheese face on Mace? Who saw the video?
Little homie. Yeah, little homie.
We not your little homies. This is how you negotiate with little homies.
Oh,
hey,
my goodness.
Listen, this is not how you negotiate with the second most powerful country. Arguably, depending on what you're weighing on, could be the most powerful country in the world. But no, I didn't see cheese welcome in Vietnam and Cambodia. For those of you who don't know, President Xi Jinping is the president of China. And no, I didn't. I have been still reading that book. I was listening to it yesterday, Up and Out of Poverty. Absolutely great book. I'm really enjoying it. But no, I have seen China is just so well diversified. Like they are, for those of you who don't know, they have the Belt and Road Project, which is a global infrastructure project where they go in and make deals with countries to build out their roads. I was talking to some gentlemen in my church. They're all from different islands, Grenada, Jamaica, and Trinidad. And what they said was, what I loved about it is, I said, well, China's building roads. What are they asking in return? They said, no, it's a short-term deal. They want the toll revenue for 50 years. That's all they're asking. I said, that's a good deal. Mm-hmm. You'll come in and build the infrastructure, and all you're asking for is the toll revenue for 50 years, and you're allowing us to now move goods through countries and move your goods and export. Oh, yeah. So China is making deals that the West has not made. They're making partnership deals where countries are welcoming them. We'd much rather make a deal with you. And I don't know why. Again, that is I've been talking to you about that all week, Curtis. I just can't understand why you're choosing to poke this bear who has this type of power. It's just not going to be good.
They're being targeted. They're being targeted, right? I mean, China's being very strategic in their tariffs, how they're doing. As Get Black With Me just pointed out, they just said, keep your Boeing airplanes. We don't need them. We'll get them from somewhere else. They are focusing in on U.S. agriculture, soybeans. All them soybean farmers out in the West, those soybeans is going to die on the docks, I think, because They're like, no, hello, soy sauce. They are not using it. They don't need our soybeans. They can get them from somewhere else. And I read something about them making deals with like Australia and stuff to take over or to fill the gap would be left by U.S. Interests. So they're like, okay, on to the next one. And I don't know. It may not end well. It may not end well for the U.S. as far as that's concerned. We may have picked a fight that we can't win, and we'll see how that works out. Only got a few minutes left here. We've got about 15 minutes left. We want to make sure we get to our conversations with our co-host. We really want to integrate that into our show. The first part, we want to make sure we're getting you the news and the headlines, but we really want to take a little deeper time to talk. Get Black with Me. I actually learned so much from Get Black with Me every time we get on the show. They bring up something and I have to go back and look at. Any co-host comments that really resonated with you that we want to get into, that we want to circle back to while we have an opportunity here in the next 15 minutes or so?
Well, as much as we try to catch, we can't catch it all.
Right.
So have you guys seen anything this week that you deem needs to be discussed? That's the question. We want to circle back around with Get Black with Me's comment about the gentleman who the anagram of the race construct. But for sure, sometimes you guys share stuff that you caught, and that's why we call you the co-host. So have you saw anything this week where you're like, hey, are y'all aware? Oh, pull up Vietnam welcoming Chi. Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm. And y'all don't see, she said they said China left President Trump on red. Like when you text somebody and they leave you on red, because it's saying these memes have been coming out all week. Like, oh, he's gonna call. Oh yeah, China's gonna make a deal. Meanwhile, China ain't thinking about making no deal. Oh yeah, China's gonna call. They're gonna call this week. China ain't picked up the phone. They ain't near a phone. They ain't even got his number. So, but go ahead. While let me pull this up and because no, I did not see President Xi Vietnam welcome.
He left Xi on red. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Oh wait, hold on. Wait, let me find this article and see, that's interesting too. Like they gifted one country a hospital. Like I didn't even know that. But here's what I do know. When I hear people talk about China outside of America, this is very important. I hear them talk about China as a good partner.
Right.
They're going to make the best deals they can because that's negotiation. But when you're talking about, like, I mean, they're building hospitals in countries, they're giving them roads, countries who didn't have roads, who can't get their fruit, can't get their agriculture, can't get their goods throughout their own countries, much less neighboring countries. And here comes China with the Belt Road Project, who says, yo, we'll build the roads. These are things that this is what you want. Or well, give me a second.
We've lost and that's why people are so upset about this stuff like the USAID chaos that has been going on for the last month or so, because it gave us like the soft leverage, the soft diplomacy where, you go out and you do some kind of goodwill in a country and it makes them more likely. I mean, it's human nature, right? If you've been nice to somebody, they're more likely to be nice to you in return. And if you were going out and you're using your resources to enrich another country's needs or meet another country's needs, then they're more likely to, if you come back and say, hey, we need XYZ, they'd be like, you know what? You did us a solid when you built that hospital or when you built those roads. Now, yeah, okay, we'll be willing to make some concessions for you. USAID was a scam. I have heard that, and there probably are some parts of that which we could talk about. But the fact also is that there's very rarely is it just black or white. There's something in the middle. So it did do some good for America. Even if there was some
for America.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah. Because if you, I don't know if you guys saw Dr. Arikana. Dr. Arikana, she's the former UN ambassador to the United States, African Union ambassador to the United States, and once exactly. Because when they canceled U.S. aid, one of the things she came out with and said is that it couldn't have happened fast enough because what they used U.S. aid for was to destabilize these lands, and they would send their people in. And they would actually, I mean, think about it. It goes back to results. You've been on the ground in South Africa. You've been on the ground in wherever, you name it. Iraq. What you name, and maybe this is something we need to research for a future show. What is there a nation that received U.S. aid that we can say, all of us can, without a total consensus that the nation is better since the U.S. came in? And if we can find one, then if you guys find me one nation that America went in and said, we're coming in here in the name of democracy, and they left that nation better.
Including North America. Ooh, sorry.
We can, come on now. So let's just look at results. So, but I love it because it clears the playing field. Because when you take away the funding that terrorists had, or that bad governments had, or that you had your infiltrators in there, and those people go away because they no longer have the money, it puts people in Africa, nations in Africa, on a level playing field. Because you didn't even know Nigeria. There's a minister there who's now seeking to, going before the international courts because it's been proven that U.S. aid was funding Islamic terrorists in Nigeria. So, what we try to be big on here is looking at everything through a clear lens. That's why we have you guys on. If we just wanted to come and talk the same talking point, y'all wouldn't be co-hosts, y'all would be listeners. You know what I'm saying? We ain't looking to put your comments up and we gonna sit here and type the whole propaganda. Or you just see, hey, I noticed Deshaun and Curtis never put my comment up. Yeah, because we are very big on let's have dialogue between all of us. But yeah, I think Curtis, I am not a fan of U.S. aid at all. And until you could find me, last thing I'm gonna say about this U.S. aid thing. Last thing I'm gonna say, maybe today, if you were doing something good and it was being funded by U.S. aid, then you should be on a world stage right now proving the results you were getting.
Right.
You should be, hey, we were doing this, transforming communities. Look, now it's all falling apart. We haven't seen that yet. So we've had people who are getting tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. But unfortunately, the results for these countries that they've been in, I don't think these countries are missing them.
Listen, we might find out that people don't need us as much as we thought they needed us, it's a terrible thing to find out that maybe you weren't as important as you thought you were in this whole situation. You just took a comment. Stephen made one of our new co-hosts here made a comment, and I wanted to circle back on it. What was it? While they steal the rare earth minerals, China can't be trusted. And I think that's probably that last part. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, because I know that a lot of people, we have been indoctrinated into certain beliefs about certain countries, whether they be African nations or China. They've been sold as the big bad boogeyman in a lot of cases. And is that just an effort to elevate the United States way of life, or what? Do you get where I'm coming from? It's like they seem to sort of detract from certain places like China as authoritarian, or as people that don't exercise strong human rights policies towards their people, except like that. But all their people are doing good. I saw something about they don't have homeless people in China. They don't have homelessness. They don't,
largest middle class,
right?
Largest middle class in the world, and
Larger
I just
than the entire U.S. population.
And I want to address this. Our new. I want to call you a co-host too, whether you stay or not. But if we were Trump haters, we would give. You could tell a Trump hater because they're not going to give him any credit for anything. If we're talking about U.S. aid and the benefit of U.S. aid, if this was an anti-Trump platform, you would never hear us talking about the fact cutting U.S. aid is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be everything he does is bad. So we wouldn't even be entertaining the fact that that was a good decision, because now it frees up the globe to make new alliances, get these terrorists out, so we try to be as impartial as possible. Doesn't mean we like the man, doesn't mean we like what he's doing, but at the end of the day, if there is something that he did that is good, we are going to talk about it. So if you like him, it shouldn't be any reason why you shouldn't be able to come here and report to us what's happening that's good, because you are in Black America. So if you see something that he did that you deem as good for you and Black America, or just you even, bring it to the stage and we'll talk about it.
Well,
but yeah, go ahead. Anything you want to add to that, Curtis?
Well, I'm just cautious because the point you made about something that's good for you, and I get it. People want to serve their own self-interest, but we also need to look out to the Bible talks about looking not only to your own interest, but to the interest of others, right? And if we're just taking a selfish point of view where I'm just looking out for number one, and ignoring the detriment that can be doing to others who are maybe not as secure in their position as you are, then that to me is problematic. Because, if we claim to be Christians and followers of Christ and that sort of thing, I think we ought to be walking a little differently than what others are, the way others are walking. So right. That's just me. That's my own personal thing.
Yeah, yes. That's your compass. He might not be a follower of Christ or a believer in any God, any whatever. So, but certainly we try to be as objective as possible. So what I would tell you, Darrell or Daryl, if you whatever you want to discuss concerning positives, we are open to those discussions. This is This Week in Black America. We talk about the things that happen and specifically how they can affect us either now or down the road. So, but if you don't know, I'm looking to make a deal with Trump. So for Black America, and that's against the better judgment. I was in DC yesterday in front of the White House, and literally this guy, he said, what's your deal? I said, well, I believe that the best thing that we can do as a nation is make a deal between the United States and Liberia to repatriate millions of Black people to Liberia in partnership, according to Thomas Jefferson's vision. When he founded Liberia for us, he said the way it should look. He wrote about it in his books. He wrote about it in his letters. And he wrote one book. If you read about Query 14, Thomas Jefferson said we should send them to their own nation. We should be supporting them until they're strong. We should do this in partnership. They should have military arms. This was Thomas Jefferson's words. So what we're trying to get President Trump to do is to fulfill that vision, which is to send the people who want to leave out. You want to stay here in America? You want to build in America? God bless you. I'm done trying to build in America. And if y'all want to convince me otherwise, I'm not open to it. because I've seen the history. I was at the African American Museum of the Museum of African American History and Culture yesterday. I would love all of you. Who's been there in DC? Curtis, I know you have. You went when it first opened. But who has been to the Museum of African American History and Culture in DC? It is an incredible experience. And when you see what our people have built in this nation, towns we've built, cities we've built, communities we built, like everything, and it's tore down, I am so much open to diversifying. But the brother in front of the White House said, why you want to make a deal with him? You don't need him. We don't need him to make a deal. So why? America first. We ain't mad. We want to give him the opportunity. So I have although I don't like everything he does, and I don't like a lot of things he's doing, I do believe that he is in the perfect position of clearing the debt globally. Mm-hmm. Globally, which means new alliances need to be made. And this is the best time for us to make moves. The next 12 to 24 months, I am telling you, anyone who calls themselves caring about their people or themselves, there's never been a better time, because when old alliances crumble, people get scared and they start to make new alliances. They have conversations they never would have been open to having in the past. And that's a perfect opportunity for us. So anyone who wants to know about the $442 billion proposal that we're going to be looking to present to President Trump as a U.S. partnership between U.S. and Liberia, to send give us all these black generals. I love it. Hey, fire these federal people. Why? Because when we go build our nations, we're going to need people. We're going to need generals. Mm-hmm. We're going to need teachers. We're going to need federal workers. We're going to need people in politics, the good people who just lost their job. Let them go, because when we go build, we're going to need them. So if y'all want more information on that and you want to take action, meet us on a call, rep2025.org. I'll put the ticker below. And for those of you who are serious, because we all about action. And so that's all I want to say, Curtis. Anything you want to add? And I know we got a couple more co-host comments to go through.
Yeah, we're trying to be honoring our time limits here as well, because we want to be respectful of your time, and we want you to be able to plan your time with us. But if we just take a few more minutes, Get Black with Me, we might need to pull Get Black with Me as a co-host here. I mean, she already is a co-host, but Charles Wright Museum in Detroit. I've never really hung out in Detroit like that. But what kind of museum is the Charles Wright Museum? We can look into that. Like I said, Get Black with Me every week presents something to us that we can learn and go back and check out. So we appreciate that, and appreciate all of you who took the time out of your busy schedule to sit in with us weekly at this Week in Black America. And I don't know, I hope you notice that we're getting better. We're trying to bring you more focused programming and make sure that we hold ourselves accountable. So be sure that we are doing that. Any final comments that you want to hit on before we sort of wrap things up here, Brother Deshaun? Any comments that you see that you want to kind of end on, or any final comments that you want to make?
Well, I want to read this. As to Get Black with Me's recommendation. This says, resist protectionism. This is China's President Xi to Cambodia. And it says that Xi told Cambodia to resist protectionism as he arrived in a country that I'm not going to try to pronounce on Thursday at the end of a 3-nation tour of Southeast Asia with U.S. tariffs threatening the economies of both countries. Cambodia is a major exporter of clothing and footwear and was slapped with a U.S. import tax of 49%, one of the highest globally, which are now on pause. In an article published, Xi urged, to forgive me because I don't want to butcher this name.
Don't worry about it.
Hegemon, and again, that's a word I've been seeing lately, and I'm not. If y'all don't know one thing about me, I'm just gonna bow out gracefully to certain words, and protectionism. But I do know what that word means, because he was very clear in making sure that people knew China's goal is not to take land. And
Right.
he's comparing the fact that, as we had, I think Stephen said that China is coming in and taking rare earth minerals.
Right.
And I think these nations, they know that that's not the case, because this is Western tactics, coming in and locking you up in contracts, and then I own your land, I own your mines, I own your rights to this. And he's letting people know, give us a chance,
Right.
and you'll see we are not the West. We make money. We don't need your land. Like, we're happy with what we have. We're the biggest economy in the world. We ship goods throughout the world. Why would we ruin that by turning into some tyrant that the West and the Europe in Europe are known for being? So so I think, I really like President Xi. And until someone can give me legitimate reasons, and it has to be multiple reasons, because I have multiple reasons why I like him. So, considering what he's doing, I am absolutely, and I don't know if I could even say it on here, they're watching us and listening, but I just don't see people who are very intelligent people welcoming China in the way they are to come and exploit us. I think they're very happy with these deals. I think they are absolutely looking forward to growing with China as a partner, getting infrastructure from them. And again, I'm going to leave you with this. This is my last thought. I talked to people who told me about the deal that was made in Jamaica to have them build roads. And I said, what is the terms? What do they want in return? Do they want to own certain things? Do they want rights along the road? They said, no, 50 years, all they want is the toll revenue. So that is an example of, and after 50 years, who gets the toll revenue? Jamaica does.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll invest in the land, build the roads so you can transform your infrastructure and transform your economy working with us. And then after 50 years, if you don't want us to be a partner with you anymore, you can walk away. Those are deals that I like, and those are deals that I think a lot of these nations are liking. That's my final word.
I agree.
Toss it to you.
Well, listen, I know one thing. I want one of those Chinese cars, so we'll talk about that at another time. But listen, we certainly appreciate our co-hosts, our audience joining us. We can't do this without you, so we appreciate you checking in with us each noon, at Fridays at noon Eastern. We're going to be here. We're going to try and keep you to 90 minutes now,
Yes.
and just so you can plan your day and plan the time that you're going to spend with us. So don't forget to check out our content. You can go on to Hello Black America, take a look at that, or you can check in with us certainly each Friday at noon on This Week in Black America. For my brother Deshaun, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back here next week when we look into what's going on with This Week in Black America. See you next time.